Good morning, everyone. It is Sunday, the 30th of October. Welcome back to the D3D4 football podcast dedicated to all things Leagues 1 and 2. What a weekend this has been. I ran through the numbers. There was an average of 3.2 goals across League 1 yesterday, an average of 2.7 across League 2. We had some utterly bonkers scorelines yesterday come through at full time, and we're here now to try and talk about them and talk about what just happened in these utterly bonkers matches. There's three of us on this call today. It is myself, Edward Walker, firstly joined by David Jenkin. David, I hope you're well.
Yeah, a bit of a headache, mate. But it's kind of understandable when you're sort of trying to digest all of these results from yesterday. It was what, as you say, what a day it was, and hopefully we'll do it somewhat justice to define some of these games today.
Yeah, guess which one of our three of us got tasked with doing the Valley game.
Yay!
Yeah, and welcome back, please, our newest recruit. He was on trial with us last week. We've given him a permanent contract to be part of the crew. Please welcome back Harry Thomas.
Thank you very much. Good to be back. Glad that I didn't make too much of a bad impression of myself last weekend. I do have a bit of a bone to pick with you, though. Tranmere were 5 wins on the bounce before I started doing these podcasts. I've been on 2, and in that time we've had 2 draws and a loss. So
just what happens, mate. It just
like I said to you, Harry, you blame James Richards on this because he's the creator of this whole thing.
Worry. I don't think it's anything to do with the performance of the players on the pitch, I'll say that much.
We attribute it to external factors, certainly. A reminder before we get going, this podcast is in partnership with The Big Step, which tackles football's relationship with gambling. There is an excessive presence of gambling adverts within football, and The Big Step continue to do great work to raise awareness about the dangers of gambling and the impact it can have on so many people's lives. A big shout out as well to all our Patron members whose inputs helps us keep this website going, helps us keep the podcast going as well. James loves putting out the daily D3D4s across the week as well. We get to talk about individual teams and manager changes as well. A lot of fun. We really do enjoy covering these divisions so much. Let's get going, and we'll begin with the world's best third tier.
League 1.
League 1. There is only one place to start. It has to be at the Valley. The man tasked with trying to explain this game is David Jenkin. David, I wish you the best of luck. Talk to us about Charlton Athletic 4, Ipswich Town 4.
Well, it's just hard to even quantify what happened in this game, isn't it? You know, you sort of see the half-time scoreline, you see the full-time scoreline, and that's fine. Like, the scoreline is one thing, but when you see the moments those goals went in, it just creates a whole different dynamic. Probably the most mental post-match goal, minute going in that I've probably ever witnessed. Let's give this a go, shall we? Let's try this. So Ipswich opened the scoring at the end of the first half. George Edmondson getting on the end of a Leif Davison corner. Then Ipswich would go on to double the lead 52 minutes in, just after half time. Wes Burn crossing in with Tyrese John-Jules. Really lovely headed effort to put it in the back of the net. To add to the drama here, Ben Garner was given his marching orders around that time. Reports are saying he was protesting a free kick that was awarded just prior to the goal, or the second from Ipswich. You could see he was visibly firing up the Charlton fans as he left. And my goodness, did that have some sort of effect or subsequent effect later on in the game. Raksaki then brought one back for the Addicts just over the hour mark. Really great work from Chuck Tanike to kind of battle away from his man, play the ball in. Corey Blackett-Taylor goes for an effort. Deflected, Raksaki tucks it in on the rebound from not very far out. If there's one theme I've noticed with Cheltenham's goals, it's if it wasn't in the 6-yard box, it wasn't going in. Every single one of them was placed from maximum probably about 2-3 yards out from the goal. It's just mental.
What's the phrase? Get it in the mixer. That's what they go with, isn't it?
Something like that. The equaliser came as well from a Walton mistake, spilling Blackett-Taylor again, his initial shot, and Alfie Morgan being the first to react from close range. But before we carry on, boys, let me just set the scene for you here, all right? It's 2-2. It's the 90th minute with 6 minutes of time added on. And if anyone is listening right now and they have not even seen what happens next, strap in, because it is mental, right? 90 plus 1. Freddie Ladapo scores a goal. And I mean, to be fair, in any normal circumstance, you'd be forgiven for thinking that the game was over and it was decided there. 90+4, Ipswich restore their 2-goal lead with Sam Morsey's deflected effort. Again, you'd be forgiven for thinking this game is over. Much of the home fans were leaving at this point, resigned to the idea of a defeat coming their way. Until 2 minutes later, Tyrell Thompson bundled in the Addicts' third of the game, another from about a yard out for them. 3 minutes after that, George Dobson completes the most mental turnaround, 4-all. Headed effort secures a point, and you can just see like the shock in the Charlton fans' faces.
You can also see all the empty seats as well.
Absolutely.
I can't believe how much is cleared out.
Just the absolute shock of Dobson as well, and just the pure elation of being able to secure that equaliser. It's just, I hope I've done it some sort of justice, this one, but if you haven't seen the highlights, I would highly recommend going and seeing them, because this is just the most mental fixture.
Yeah, and just fast forward to the 90th minute, because that's all you need really for the last 10 or so. This is just absolutely bonkers, really. I'm just imagining the people who left that valley at 4-2, maybe even before added time as well, and then you find out what's happened as well.
How gutted would you be to not witness 4 goals in 9 minutes? Like,
you know, we always talk for ages about not leaving a game early. There are some people who, I think that there are understandable reasons, leave a game early, a different matter away from football. But you just have to feel gutted about what's happened there, just not staying till the final whistle. It's absolutely nuts what's happened.
Yeah, and I mean, to be fair, like, Charlton showed an absolute, like, you know, what heart they've shown to get back into this one as well. And I mean, you know, Ipswich will understandably feel a bit hard done by. I think Kieran McKenna was a bit taken aback by the whole thing, especially his post-match press conference. I was kind of getting the feeling that he couldn't quite believe what had just happened, but also sort of trying to justify it with sort of, you know, using his players. Maybe their emotions were a bit too on the high side after they'd gone 4-2 up, which is, you know, in any normal circumstance is completely understandable. But just in this one, it seems, you know, on a day like this, just wasn't enough. I mean, before the midweek defeat to MK Dons, Charlton had an unbeaten home record this season. So, you know, taking that blotch off it, like, they certainly were trying to sort of maintain some sort of fortress record at the Valley here.
It's just made all the more remarkable, really, by the absence of Ben Garner for a lot of this game. I hadn't realised until I'd seen through the highlight show it actually had been dismissed as well. So it's all the more remarkable what Charlton pulled off, really. And I think their formation is probably what interests me most. I've got them down here as a 3-4-3. Mandela Egbo and Stephen Sessegnon in wing-back roles. Tyrell Thomas brought into the back line because Ryan Innes is out suspended after 2 yellow cards as well. So he was with Johan O'Connell and Sean Clare in the back line. Charlie Clerk playing back out on the left again. I much prefer him out on the left-hand side to a striker position. It's much more comfortable for him. Raksaki off the right. George Dobson, Scott Fraser in the middle of the park. Bit of a likeable 11, I think, David. And Charlton, I think, are an interesting discussion about what you think they could possibly achieve this season, especially with their record at the Valley.
They are. I mean, their home record in general is very good this season so far. And do you know what? Typically, when they've gone on pretty good runs headed towards the playoff places, their home record has been mostly what they've relied on, in my experience anyway. So, you know, results like this can only go in their favour, really. You know, Ipswich are probably going to feel like there's 2 points dropped here.
Oh, they're going to feel like it's 2 points dropped.
Like, you know, regardless of how you look at it, I suppose. But, you know, if you're a Charlton fan right now, you're absolutely delighted at that result. And, I mean, to be fair, this is a win for football fans in general, because anyone that gets to witness that, even if it's just the highlights alone, what a treat this is.
This is a scoreline that's being shown around the world, and it is a League One game, and it is getting League One into the spotlight because of just the utter madness that has gone on there. Thank you, Charlton and Ipswich. They're giving some love to what is just an absolutely bonkers division, as we say. We'll move on. Derby County 4, Bristol Rovers 2. I've got Derby down here as going through a change of formation. We've seen a 3-5-1-1 from them under Paul Warne so far. On this occasion at Pride Park, they went through a Thor treble 2, Corey Smith and Hayden Roberts in fullback roles. Probably a bit suitable to me because the wing-back pairing that they had before in Tom Barkhazen and Nathaniel Mendes-Lang, very attack-heavy for me. This feels a lot more suitable. The main man to focus on in this game is undoubtedly David McGoldrick. First half treble from him. His first 2 assisted by Mendes-Lang, who was playing in an attacking midfield role behind McGoldrick. That's David McGoldrick's first hat-trick of his entire career, and that is mind-blowing to me. He's had years at Ipswich Town, years at Sheffield United, played to a very high level, played up in the top flight, and now only at 34 has he got his first hat-trick. What a great moment for him, and what an incredible first half for Derby County at Pride Park. 1-0 up within 5 minutes, 2-0 up after 12 minutes. James Collins knocking home what was his first goal and after first appearance in 4 league games. By the 40th minute, David McGoldrick had his hat-trick wrapped up. All 3 of them good goals, by the way, but I particularly like his second and third goals. Great use of strength to hassle his opponent and get away from his man to fire into the net as well. Not all Derby County yesterday, though. I was very impressed with what Bristol Rovers put in at Hillsborough in midweek on Wednesday. They were very good there, and they weren't blanked in this game either. Bobby Thomas got a goal with the score at 3-0. Anthony Evans scored a penalty in first half stoppage time to make it 4-2. Rather disappointed, in truth, that having seen that 4-2 scoreline at half-time, there was no further goals in the second half, but by all accounts, it was a very professional and comfortable second half, 45, done from the hosts. Very good win. I wonder if we're going to see this Thor treble 2 persist with going forwards. It feels a good fit for what they have. Gives the chance to put 2 of the strikers up top together. It was McGoldrick and Collins who started yesterday. They got the option of putting Will Osula up top too, who has looked electric at times during the matches he's played on loan from Sheffield United. My only real concern with Derby is whether the lack of a natural right back might hurt them a bit down the line. They had Corey Smith playing there. He can play that. It's totally fine. But I still consider him to be more comfortable in a midfield position. Jason Knight's probably the same as well. The natural right back in this Derby squad at the minute is probably Kwaku Adura, who is 20 years old, very inexperienced at senior level, probably not the best option to call for at times. I understand Corey Smith being the main man chosen ahead of him at current, but maybe it'd be quite nice to see a proper right back coming to Derby County during the January window. We'll have to see. Now, I know Bristol Rovers brought a very good number of fans to Pride Park yesterday. I passed a few of their bright yellow coaches actually on my own way to Sheffield, where I got to experience my own 6-goal game. Sheffield Wednesday 4, Burton Albion 2. Wednesday needed this. They are the closest challengers to our current top 2 in League One. Their last couple of results, draws against Lincoln City and Bristol Rovers, not ideal when you consider the very high standards that they've been trying to keep pace with. For the first 20 minutes or so of this game at Hillsborough, I got the sense the crowd were feeling a bit on edge. Burton were in this game. They were getting into Wednesday's final third. There's maybe a bit of fear creeping in that this could be a repeat of the last couple of games they had coming up. 22 minutes in, however, who else but Barry Bannon got into the spotlight, collecting a rebound, curls it past Garrett on his left foot from an angle. Not long after, Bannon's again at the heart of winning a penalty for the host through handball. Michael Smith stepping up, firing that past Garrett. Wednesday were in cruise control from that point, and they were even more in cruise control when, in the second half, Malik Wilkes curls in a third from off the right-hand side. Wilkes is a player I have been a huge fan of for years, stepping back to his time at Doncaster Rovers, at Barnsley, at Hull City as well. But when Sheffield Wednesday play the 3-5-2 or the 4-3-1-2 that I've seen them use during the season, it just doesn't get the best out of him, sadly. The guy is a winger, and he's best as a winger. He was able to play that yesterday, high up the right-hand flank as part of a different look Sheffield Wednesday side. More opportunities like that for him in that position, and they should hopefully get more of the return that they would hope for. But when it's the other formation, sadly, it just doesn't seem to get the best use out of him. For Sayed Eli Bashiru would slot in a fourth from the edge of the box. And it's at that point, boys, that I'm stood in the Leppings Lane down at Hillsborough just thinking, oh, final whistle, please. I don't want to put up with any more of this. This could get heavy. But a quick response from Burton, though. Johnny Smith cross off the right-hand side. Diving header from Sam Winnell for 4-1. Sheffield Wednesday win another penalty, but Lee Gregory smashes this one off the crossbar. And Burton get a second from a Tom Hamer header. 82 minutes played, 4-2. You start thinking, could they pull this off? No, they didn't. Job done to Sheffield Wednesday in the end. My big frustration from a Burton Albion perspective was the decision to start Tyler Onyango. He played in this advanced midfield position that if you get right, it can be really crucial to your attacking play as the ball passes through that part of the pitch so much during a game. His ball control, however, is really, really poor. So many attacks broke down because he just couldn't keep control of it under pressure. I don't know if there are any people out there who are knowledgeable on Everton's recent youth products. Did Tyler Onyango have a growth spurt quite late into his adolescence? Because he looks like he's not used to the body he has yet. Onyango has an enormous frame. He's 6'3", he's long-limbed. He just looks like a player who isn't used to playing with the body yet, that he has, though, and that's very frustrating at the moment, and I hope it can change down the line. Harry, Bolton Wanderers 1, Oxford United 3.
Yeah, a good result for Oxford, who look like the starting's come together a bit now. They came into this one with Matty Taylor and Billy Bowden both serving suspensions, and manager Carl Robinson's also serving a touchline ban, having received 4 yellow cards so far this season. I wanted to make a quick point on that. I've known of managers missing games with straight reds, but I wonder if there's ever been an earlier point in a season where a manager has accumulated too many yellows.
If there is, Steve Evans will know.
I was going to say it's not too big a surprise probably that Carl Robinson's got it either, really.
No.
I wonder what him and Steve Evans were getting up to yesterday whilst the teams were playing. So with Matty Taylor out, 18-year-old Gatlin O'Donkor started up front, who's so new to the team he's not even got an account on the Oxford United website. He's still waiting for his first senior goal, but he was involved in the opener. His shot was blocked, and it fell to Javan Anderson, who poked home his first goal in English football. Kieran Brown then made it 2-0 early in the second half. It was a mazy run through the midfield, and then a low-driven shot from outside the box. The Bolton fans were maybe slightly unkindly comparing him to Andy Carroll. I won't repeat exactly what they were saying, but it was a Carroll-esque finish from the edge of the box, and probably the pick of the goals in this game. Dion Charles brought Bolton back into the game with just under 20 minutes to go. Again, not overly surprising that he scored, but just 6 minutes later, Oxford regained their 2-goal cushion. One of the smallest players on the pitch, Steve Seddon, scoring with a header from a corner. Credit has to go to Oxford's Lewis Bate, who's on loan from Leeds. The midfielder picked up 2 assists, but also credit has to go to the back four. It was another resolute performance. They've picked up 7 points now from the last 3 away league games, and they seem to be clicking a bit better now. They obviously had a pretty shaky start to the season, but they are slowly but surely pulling away from the bottom of the table. The problem that Bolton seem to be having is we're now almost 3 months into the season, and Ian Evatt still doesn't seem like a man who knows what his best 11 is. I've noticed Bolton fans getting increasingly frustrated every Saturday by the lineup roulette that seems to be occurring. So, I think if he can find his best team, obviously they're still in 6th place in the table. They're still doing well, but they just need to pick up on that consistency, really.
Yeah, I've noticed the frustration with Bolton is probably the decision to put Dapple at the line in a wing-back role, which is not what you want. You want him further forwards. I think even though this 3-4-1-2 they play doesn't really make use of wingers, if you put him in an attacking midfield role behind the strikers or maybe as part of the strikers himself, I think you probably see him as best. And I've got to say, I was not expecting this result. This was a real surprise to me. Oxford, as far as I could tell, were threadbare. No Matty Taylor, no Carl Robinson, as you're saying. Young Gatlin O'Donkor, I believe, started in their midweek game with Portsmouth as well. So, magnificent result for them, really. Big surprise to me with this.
Definitely, yeah. But like I said, they drew with Portsmouth, didn't they? I think, was that a midweek or was that last weekend?
Yeah. It was.
Yeah. And obviously the big win at Exeter before that away from home. So, yeah, they're looking pretty solid. And those Oxford fans who've been calling for Carl Robinson's head, he's not done himself any favours today with the team winning without him in the stadium. So.
Yeah, okay. Bit of mention to Carl Joseph as well, playing off the left-hand side on loan from Swansea City. Looks a very lively forward and probably one of the standouts a minute with so many other people absent as well. Really good performance from him for sure. Harry, Fleetwood Town 3, Accrington Stanley 0.
Yeah, a very comfortable win in the end for Scott Brown's Fleetwood. Scored 3 second-half goals for their first league win since the start of this month. Carlos Mendes-Gomez was definitely the standout player for Fleetwood. He scored the first, and then 2 very nice assists for Sean Rooney and Josh Earls in a 9-minute flurry of goals. His cross in particular, I thought, for Sean Rooney for the second goal was really clever play. He's found him completely unmarked on the other side of the 6-yard box, and he was able to essentially just tap it in, really. Academy graduate Leslie Adekoya very nearly pulled a consolation goal back late on for Accrington. It was a wonderful save, though, from Jay Lynch to push it up onto the crossbar, and they were pretty good for their clean sheet, really. It's the first time this season that Fleetwood have scored 3 in a game. They're one of the lowest scoring teams in the league, so hopefully that'll do some good things for their attacking confidence going forwards. The clean sheet means they now also have the joint lowest goals conceded in the league, which is pretty good for a team in their position, really. It's a concerning result, though, for Stanley. They've now lost 5 league games in a row. And John Coleman's the EFL's second longest serving manager. And obviously, for that alone, he deserves a bit more time to turn things around. But you feel he will be starting to look over his shoulder a bit if results don't start to change. They've conceded 3 goals in all 5 of those losses, and they've only scored in 2 of them. So there's problems at both ends of the pitch, really. Toby Savin in goal seems to be coming under a lot of criticism. So I'd be surprised if they don't bring Loney Lucas Jensen back in the next couple of games. He seemed to be doing all right, and I'm not entirely clued up on the situation. I don't know if he was injured or if it's tactical, but I'm surprised that he's not been brought back in. So,
and I noticed Baba Fernandez playing in the back line as well. I don't know if Doug Tarn was out suspended, I think, potentially at the time, but it was young Baba Fernandez playing in there again. I think he's 22 years old, I think, quite relatively inexperienced at Football League level, but a very good win to Fleetwood. I'm interested in this 3-4-3 they got with. I quite like Sean Rooney as a dynamic wing back as well. We know what Carlos Mendes Gomez is all about as well. Joe Garner leading the line. I love that midfield pairing of Brendan Wirreder and Josh Feller as well. Josh on the left side of a back three with Drew Baker and Harrison Holgate as well. Needed for Fleetwood, isn't it, Harry? Because they've been waiting a bit while for a win.
Yeah, they have dropped off a bit recently. And like I think it was the 4th of October the last time they won a game. But they've not looked like a bad side, and I do think that they'll start to pick up a few more results now. And they did look very comfortable in this game, even though it was 0-0 through the first half and for a bit of the second. You didn't ever feel like it was Accrington's day, really. So, good win for Fleetwood, and can see them pushing on from there.
Yeah, I'm fascinated by that fact they conceded the joint fewest goals in the league. I think the other ones on 14 goals are Bolton, Derby, and Barnsley, I believe, are the other ones on 14 as well.
Yeah, so pretty good going, but I think they've only scored 16, so not quite keeping up with those teams in terms of scoring at the other end.
Yeah, slightly narrow margins at the moment for sure. David, Barnsley 2, Forest Green Rovers 0.
Yeah, pretty good from Barnsley here, to be fair. Deserved victory. I mean, goals from Devante Cole and Josh Martin enough to score. Secure is what I meant to say. What a day it is. To secure 3 points here. Quarter of an hour in. Forest Green caught out by a long ball over the top. Finds Jordan Williams, who returns to the side following a spell out on injury. Puts in a cross for Devante Cole, rises up the highest, heads in the opener. Second goal here for Barnsley came 7 minutes from time. 2 Barnsley subs making the difference here to secure the points. Who else to start this move, Ed, but Nicky Cadden to start things off for them. Playing the ball down the left-hand side for Tedic, pass it across to Josh Martin, facing a very simple finish, open goal. Deserved victory here for Barnsley, I'd say. Their quality has definitely shined through in this. I mean, in post-match comments, Ian Birchall admitted it was probably the right result here. It's hard to disagree with him, really. No shots on target, only 3 shots that they had in this game, and a relatively dominant display from Barnsley in this one.
Yeah, disappointing Forest Green to not be competitive in this game. That's Barnsley's first win since the start of the month, David.
That's a shocking... Wow.
Yeah, it's been a bit flat in October for them, but yet they still find themselves sort of around the playoff places at the moment, and I don't know what conclusion I jumped from this, really.
It's a 50-50 kind of situation, isn't it? Barnsley are a kind of team that you'd expect to be up there in the echelons, but do you know what, that stat has really surprised me. I wasn't expecting... I would have expected them to have picked up a couple of wins in that time, rather than this being the first one since the beginning of the month. But maybe I've not been paying attention to Barnsley this season, have I?
You've been caring too much about Gills, is your problem. Front line yesterday, Devante Cole and James forward, Herbie Kane, Luke O'Connell, Josh Benson in midfield, I like that. Jordan Williams and Nicky Cadden, dynamic wing backs, I like that as well. Tom Edwards, Mads Anderson, Liam Kitching in the back line as well. Very much built in a Michael Duff image, that team you expect to be, and don't feel that strong about Barnsley being a solid playoff contender. They'll be one who's up and around, but they need to do more in this month than just pick up 2 wins over the month. I think they were against Fleetwood Town and Forest Green Rovers as well. You want a bit more from a team that's aiming to get back into the Championship at the first attempt.
Yeah, no, I'd completely agree. I mean, there's still plenty of the season left, and Barnsley are one of those teams that generally tend to compete up in those upper echelons when they get relegated down here. But yeah, I mean, plenty of the season to go. Let's just see how they go. And as you say, they need to kind of pick up on their momentum and get something going if they want to spend their time in the playoffs come the end of the season.
Right, Harry, I'm going to make a quick statement. Cambridgeshire is blue, and I'm now going to go and hide in the bunker whilst you tell us about Peterborough United 1, Cambridge United 0.
So I noticed the ever impartial Peterborough official website started their match report with that exact sentence.
Oh, did they? Okay.
They did, yeah. So we can say that you're quoting, and you don't have to take.
I will come back out the bunker then. That's fine.
Want to. So, I mean, we had a bit of a debate last week, didn't we, about what constitutes a rivalry and what constitutes a derby. I think this is quite clearly a Cambridgeshire derby. And it was actually the first time they've met each other in the league in 21 years. I also saw, I can't remember if the Twitter account's been set up specifically to talk about Peterborough against Cambridge, if it was just a Peterborough fan account. But to sort of contextualise how long it's been and the differing fortunes in the club, I think they tweeted that the last time Cambridge had won at Peterborough in the league, none of this current Peterborough side had been born. So I'll leave you to digest that. They'll have to wait a little while longer to try and change that, thanks to an unfortunate own goal by Lloyd Jones, who was the hero at one end in midweek, the villain at the other end, unfortunately, this weekend. The mix-up between him and the normally reliable Paul Digby from a corner, leading to the ball being headed onto his back and into the top corner. Bajiri Okunabiri missed the game through injury, and so Cambridge boss Mark Bonner brought Jack Lancaster back into the side, whilst Peterborough named the same starting 11 that had beaten Accrington Stanley in midweek. Both sides continue to have chances throughout the match, and both goalkeepers made important saves to keep the scoreline at 1-0. I think it could have been a lot higher, to be honest. Harvey Nibbs had a couple of great chances to equalise, one that went over the bar from pretty close range that he maybe should have done better with, and one that was very well saved by Bergstrom, whilst Jack Marriott was unlucky to see a curled effort come back off the post late on. Cambridge finally got a long-awaited win in midweek against Wickham. I think they'd had 4 or 5 defeats before that. And although Posh are arguably a stronger opponent, it'll still be a concern for their fans to have immediately reverted back to losing games. Bonner switched it up and went for a 4-2-3-1 in midweek and stuck with that again today. And it does seem to be more effective and seems to suit them a bit better in terms of creating chances. But they need to find that cutting edge that seems to be missing for them at the minute. As for Peterborough, I'd say they're looking pretty consolidated in the playoff positions right now, and their recent good form continues. One thing that did surprise me, though, is that this actually ended a run of 6 league games without a clean sheet. So, I mean, they've been winning a lot of games, but they have been conceding in all of them. So I'll be happy to see the team go 90 minutes without conceding in this one.
Yeah, I think Cambridge need most of just players' bodies back in the building, really. The right back, Jibril Okadina, I don't really consider to be best as a right back. I've always kind of thought of him more as a centre back, and the proper right back to me is George Williams, who's having to play at left back at the moment because they haven't had Harrison Dunk for a long period. They haven't had Brandon Hanstruck for an even longer period than that, and some fit fullbacks were certainly out there. Liam O'Neill on the bench this occasion, so young Lewis Simper playing in midfield alongside Paul Digby as well. I remember Cambridge talking in the build-up to this game before the derby took place, and this is another testament really to Mark Bonner that this fixture can actually happen in the league, because it's just been cup games up to now against Peterborough and it's sort of EFL Trophy matches as well. And the fact that Bonner's done such great work as Cambridge has allowed them to get up into the same division as Peterborough United. And on this occasion, sadly, decided by an own goal. It's not really how you want a derby to be decided, is it?
Yeah, not at all. And like I say, there were opportunities for both sides. It could have been, it was an entertaining game, and it could have been a very high scoring one. As is so often the case, it was a matter of inches, or it could have been another one of these 4-2s this weekend. But I think on balance of play, Peterborough probably did deserve to win it.
Yeah, mention as well to Lucas Bergstrom, the goalkeeper for Peterborough United on loan from Chelsea. I think he's at Finland Youth International, if I recall right. So Peterborough have had some good lone goalkeepers over the years, and Lucas Bergstrom appears to be the same. And Posh are up there. They're fourth at the moment. They're firmly in the playoff mix. They'll be eyeing up that top 2 and getting results in them, but they need a bit more consistency, I think, in terms of their goal-scoring output to get there. David, Port Vale 1, Lincoln City 0.
Yeah, I mean, good game here, to be fair. Only one goal being the difference maker. Danny Butterworth scoring his debut EFL goal. Funnily enough, the last time these sides met at Vale Park was in the 18-19 season, and it ended 6-2 to Lincoln as an away day there. This one was definitely worlds away from that. But yeah, I mean, Lincoln made one change to their team as well, bringing in Adam Jackson to replace Joe Walsh at the back. We all know about the injury problems that Vale are having at the moment. They had a few come back this time, so Jack Stevens returned to the starting 11. Lewis Cass, Mal Benning, Tom Pett, Butterworth and Odobeko were all restored to the starting 11 in this one. So they're starting to get some of those players to return the side as well. But yeah, I mean, there were plenty of chances for both sides here, but Lincoln just didn't really seem at it today. It sort of felt like this was always going to be Vale's one. Very close game here, though. Deadlock wasn't broken until the 68th minute. Another situation today where there was a parried effort. So Odebeko, strong effort towards the keeper, parried away. Butterworth, the first person to get onto it, just slots it into the bottom left corner. Probably tough to take if you're a Lincoln fan, but equally, probably a deserved result for Vale as well. I wouldn't have thought many Lincoln fans would be questioning this. I mean, stats aren't everything, but barely any shots, not really creating much in this one. So yeah, Vale pretty good for the win, and they'll be very happy with the 3 points here.
Yeah, a bit disappointing for Lincoln after their recent results. They had a draw with Charlton. They went and won away at Ipswich. They got a draw at Sheffield Wednesday against Sheffield Wednesday as well. Beat Barnsley midweek as well. They've had some good results against top end sides recently, but this is a bit disappointing here. I've become a fan of Danny Mondrea though. For Lincoln City, I've got to say, they're Irish right winger. I think they've gone through Shamrock Rose where he had a great goal output there, and he's starting to look good in this 3-4-3 up top for Lincoln. But on this occasion, this is about Port Vale, and as you say, David, I've given a lot of credit to Darryl Clark, who's doing a lot of things really with kind of a makeshift front line at times. He doesn't always have availability. Ellis Harrison's been a sensational signing, but there's been quite a lot of inconsistency with who partners him in forward areas.
Yeah, and to be fair, the fact they're able to eke out some of these results, not necessarily, Lincoln is a tough game, and Port Vale, going to Vale Park is not an easy fixture by any stretch of the imagination either. So it probably is a fair result on the balance, but yeah, it's a tough one, especially for Vale. To be so injury hit, to introduce, 5-6 players back into the starting 11, and then to eke out a win. When you don't have too much at your disposal through no fault of your own, Darryl Clark's doing a great job, and hopefully he'll get those players back soon to really show what this Vale side can do in League One.
Yeah, I heard there was a lot of praise to Port Vale in midweek in their 3-2 defeat to a clinical Ipswich Town as well. I'm hearing a lot of praise as well to Will Forrester, one of their centre-backs, played in the middle of the back three yesterday. They got him from Stoke, which was always, I remember catching my eye when I saw it at the time, thinking a Stoke player's gone to Port Vale. That's not something you see often, but he's been very good, and I've heard some good things about Liam McCarron as well. He's been playing up the left-hand side as well. He's on loan from Stoke City as well. Going all right, Port Vale. Target, as we say, is survival, and right now they're doing just fine. 3 more results to run through, 3 draws. Wycombe Wanderers 1, Morecambe 1. Wycombe's opener, a Gareth McCleary cross off the right, Chris Torino heading in. You mentioned how there's a lot of goals that seem to come from parried shots, David. I also think there's quite a lot that come from crosses off the right this weekend, I've noticed, across both League 1 and 2. We'll get into more of those as the episode goes on as well. Vokes had a header disallowed for a foul. I'm not sure on that one. That seems just a very typical Sam Vokes goal to me. I'm not sure that should have been disallowed. But Morecambe got their equaliser through very young Adam Major, awarded the equaliser. I believe it's his first goal. I think he's only 18, 19 years old. Fantastic for him. But Wycombe would have another goal disallowed late on, denying Brandon Hanlon a winner as well, as it ended level at Adams Park. Portsmouth 1, Shrewsbury Town 1. Both goals coming in a few minutes of each other. The opener for Shrewsbury Town from Elliot Bennett getting on the rebound after Carl Winchester hit the post. The equaliser for Portsmouth coming from their right back, Zach Swanson, cutting inside onto his left foot in a great goal finish to secure a point for Pompey. Probably more ideal. They'd probably want a better result than that, but on this occasion it has to be a draw. And the only goalless draw yesterday, Cheltenham Town 0, Milton Keynes Dons 0. A special mention to Dean Lewington for what was his 900th career appearance yesterday. Dare I ask you go for the 1000th? It'd probably require another couple of seasons, but come on, Dean, you are evergreen. And what an achievement that would be. I came across a list of players who have played 1,000+ games in their careers, and there are some very big names in there. Who could resist the chance to join those names in true immortality, Dean? I'd go for it. You could do it. I really believe you could. We'll run through the League One table to finish. Plymouth Argyle didn't play yesterday. They have their huge game, the big one, with Exeter City on Monday night. Enjoy that. That's going to be a great occasion. We haven't had a Devon derby for 3 years. That's going to be a lot of fun. And Exeter are currently holding the bragging rights after a 4-0 win back in League 2 as well. So that's going to be a lot of fun. They still lead the way, 38 points from 16 games. Ipswich Town could have gone top, but their draw means they're on 37 and stay second. Sheffield Wednesday are on 34 from 17, close the gap slightly. Peterborough on 31 from 17. Portsmouth on 27 from 15 games. Bolton wrap up the playoff places on 27 from 16. Derby County are on 24 points. Barnsley on 24 points, Charlton on 23, then you've got Exeter, Shrewsbury and Port Vale all on 22 to wrap up the top half. Burton Albion down to the bottom of the table on goal difference. They've got 12 points from 17 games. Morecambe, after their draw, up to 23rd. They've also got 12 points, played 16. Forest Green Rovers are 22nd on 13 points. MK Dons wrap up the bottom four on 14 points. And then there's a little bit of a gap to Accrington, who sit 20th at the moment. Cheltenham Town in 19th on 18 points. Oxford on 18 points. Cambridge on 19. Let's drop down and take a look at the world's best fourth tier.
League Two.
League Two, again, there's only one place to start really. We have to go with Field Mill, the absolutely crazy game there that finished Mansfield Town 2, Swindon Town 5. This is Mansfield Town's first league defeat at home since early April, which Nigel Clough described as being unbelievably disappointed about, and very understandably so. Mansfield had the lead in this game within a minute. Kellen Gordon, playing a right wing back, his first start in a month after returning in midweek, got the opener. Swindon's equaliser came 6 minutes later. Johnny Williams onto the rebound of a parried shot. Mansfield's lead was restored on 30 minutes though to Will Swan, but Johnny Williams would get his second 5 minutes later as it finished 2-2 at half time. I've got to give a special mention to Jacob Wakeling in this game, who was just relentless up top. No goal for him, but he did get 2 assists, his first setting up Luke Jethcott for a very typical Luke Jethcott goal, a low finish in space inside the box, 3-2 to Swindon, and it would get worse than Mansfield. Hiram Boateng would block an attempted quick free kick, second yellow card for him, sent off, Mansfield down to 10 men. The floodgates opened really for Swindon from that point there. They got a fourth goal coming again from Jacob Wakeling, keeping that attack alive on the left-hand side, setting up Ronan Darcy to just fire past Christy Pym, who was just rooted to the spot. And Swindon would get a late penalty converted by a bandaged-up Blengard win to wrap up a superb victory on the road at Field Mill. Swindon Town are looking very good right now. They're up to 4th. Their only league defeat since the opening day have come against 3rd place Northampton Town and 2nd place Stevenage. There were a lot of draws at the start of the season for Swindon, but those are now becoming wins, and it's lifting them up to a very good position. I know there's been some questions from Swindon Town fans about why Louis Reed, who was such an integral metronome midfielder under Ben Garner last season, isn't even getting into the starting 11 at the moment. Scott Lindsay was very honest about it. Saidu Khan is playing so well the base of midfield that Louis Reed can't get into the team right now. He really has been great, and I've enjoyed what I've seen from Rowan Darcy in midfield as well alongside him. Swindon Town going very well right now, and that is a great win away at promotion chasing Mansfield Town, and a very enjoyable trip back to Wiltshire for them. David, ASC Wimbledon 3, Harrogate Town 2.
Yeah, it's what a game this was as well. I mean, it could have gone down as the game of the day in my mind if it wasn't for the absolute craziness that occurred in League One at the same time. Wimbledon made the breakthrough about 5 minutes before half time. Paul Kalambai, yeah. He put in a header from an Ethan Chislett corner, went for a crowd of bodies, hits the back of the net. Harrogate then levelled early into the second half. Alex Patton cut the ball back for Luke Armstrong's initial shot was saved. Matt Daly was there to tap in the rebound. Bit of a scrappy affair really after the equaliser. Summed up best really by Rory McArdle's second goal. The Harrogate second goal, which found the back of the net from Jack Muldoon's corner. Less than 10 minutes remaining. Wimbledon came level when Courtney Senior took advantage of Peter Jameson's poor effort to punch the ball clear, lobbed the keeper from the edge of the box, and then Davison firing an 88th minute winner for the hosts with a powerful effort from just inside the area. Really good game here. Back and forth stuff. Wimbledon opening it up, Harrogate retaking the lead, and then Wimbledon coming out with the 3 points. From what I've seen from a few Wimbledon fans as well that I've spoken to, a lot of surprise that they were able to get the comeback here, and it seems like Plough Lane was absolutely rocking as soon as that third goal had gone in. I don't think they were quite expecting the turnaround that they had on the cards there, but definitely a really lovely 3 points there for Wimbledon, and a bit disappointing for Harrogate to concede that goal in the last couple of minutes, but good win for Wimbledon all round.
Yeah, topsy-turvy game. More than a bit disappointed to Harrogate Town. They badly need to invest in January because the squad just isn't that good. there's a lot of weakness in certain areas, and they need to get better, otherwise they're going to stay down the bottom of the table and potentially not have many finish below them at all. Wimbledon, though, they've had 3 more favourable games recently against bottom half sides, picked up 7 points from possible 9. It's quite good. They've gone with a little change of formation. They've been playing a 3-5-2 quite a lot this season, gone to a 4-2-3-1 now, as Alec Woodyard's come back into fitness to play at the base of midfield alongside Paris Maghoma, gets Ayuba Sal out on one side, gets Ethan Chislett on the other, and then Harry Pell playing behind Josh Davison. And Davison's someone I'm really enjoying the growth of. I think he took his goal really well for the winner as well, by the way. That was a great low finish from him. Callum Bye and Riley Towler, they're an experienced centre-back partnership, but needed at the minute because Alex Pearce just hasn't been available at the moment. Lee Brown, the same, has been out too. I think there's a bit more experience to add into that backline when they're fully going as well. Kind of like this Wimbledon setup at the moment. I hope we get to see them back to full strength, because I think I've said in the past, likeable first 11 when everyone's fully playing, but then you're relying a bit on your youngsters when they're not available as well. Though I should say Ethan Chislett stepping up very nicely, and I've enjoyed him, and Jack Curry too. A win to talk about at Holker Street. Barrow 3, Crewe Alexandra 0. Barrow's 6th win in 8 league games at Holker Street. There must be a lot of strikers who look at Ben Whitfield and think, I would love to play in the same team as you. His deliveries are on point so often. He bagged a pair of assists in this game. The first, a deep cross fired in by Billy Waters beyond the far post. The second, latched onto by Josh Gordon. Gordon in the second half would steal possession on halfway, run into the box and slot past Arthur Okonkwo in the Crewe goal to round off just a brilliant victory for Pete Wild's side. I am back to really, really liking this Barrow team again. Wild's gone through a slight change of formation to a 4-2-3-1. It's got Whitfield off the right, Josh Kay on the left, Billy Waters in an attacking midfield role, which I remember seeing at times from him at SC Halifax Town when Pete Wild was there as well. Josh Gordon started up top yesterday, but David Moyer's gone there instead. That is a very fun front quartet to have, and I want to give a special mention as well to Harrison Neal, Barrow's number 14. He's a 21-year-old playing on loan from Sheffield United, been a very consistent, underrated part of Barrow's midfield, and recently partnering Tom White in the centre of the park as well. Barrow up into the playoff places, continuing to show just sensational progression from their previous couple of seasons in the Football League. It's been relegation battle since they were promoted out of the National League, and now they look good under Pete Wild. We were always quite excited about what Wild's team could do, and this year they could do a lot of good things for sure. Harry, Stockport County 3, Sutton United 0.
Yeah, a very solid win for Stockport, who look like they're really now starting to get settled into League 2 football. There's 3 wins on the bounce for Dave Challoner's side. They had the 2-0 win against Carlisle in midweek and 3-0 today against what is still a good Sutton side. Amazingly as well, this was the first time this season that Challoner's named an unchanged starting 11. It was the exact same team that started on Tuesday. Took just 15 seconds for referee Simon Mather to brandish his first card of the afternoon, with James Brown being shown a yellow for Stockport. After just 3 minutes, Mather had brought out the red following a high challenge by Omar Begill. Sutton were always going to struggle to play virtually a full match with 10 men, and on 19 minutes, Kyle Wootton headed in his second goal in as many games to give Stockport the lead. That goal aside, Sutton were able to contain the pressure quite well for the rest of the first half, and it didn't look like Stockport were going to run away with it, but not long into the second half, Paddy Madden made it 2-0 for the hosts. It was his 5th goal in his last 6 league matches, and to be honest, I probably could have just written down at 2 p.m. yesterday when I saw he was starting that he was going to score, and I wouldn't have needed to go back and check the result. Tranmere are playing Stockport on Tuesday night, and I am concerned that he could cause our defence some major problems. There aren't many people surprised to see him making the step up after his goal-scoring form in the National League last season. Miles Hippolyte had a goal ruled out for offside before Will Collar then smashed one in to complete the scoring. Perhaps unsurprisingly, considering the player advantage, Sutton only had 21% possession in this game, and they had a single shot on target. And they've now only had 1 win in the last 9 league games. I had a look. They've got National League Southside Farnborough in the FA Cup next weekend, which will either serve as a confidence booster if they win, or it could spell real trouble if they don't.
Yeah, not looking too good for Sutton. They need some bodies back, particularly in midfield. Adam Lovett's been playing a lot more games than I would expect to in the centre of the park, because there's just not many options at the minute either. Alistair Smith's been out for a period as well. It's not ideal for them at the minute. They need some bodies back in there, like Beautyman as well. Stockport, though, looking good. I'm wondering if this could be the start of a bit of a run for them. They finally look to have settled on a good formation. This 3-5-2 they play. It's got Akil Wright and Chris Hussey as the outside fullbacks, dynamic, able to push forward in possession as well. James Brown on the right wing back role, I've enjoyed, but they've got Macaulay Southern-Hales to come back from injury. He's a flying wing back, and when you put him into a 3-5-2, it's going to suit him so well. That's going to be exciting to see him. And you mentioned Madden, Harry. Yeah, it's not a surprise really. I remember Paddy Madden and his performances to Scunthorpe, for instance, at League One level a while back, I've always considered him a very high quality lower league striker. So down in the National League was no surprise to see how good he was there. And I mentioned to Will Collar as well, an all-action midfielder, brilliant goal, really thumped that in as well yesterday, playing alongside Ryan Crosdale and Miles Hippolyte as well. Stockport look good. They're starting to climb a bit. I think it's fair to say they have been underperforming up to now with the relative play they've had in games, and they've just found themselves on the wrong sides of results far too often. But this is starting to look good for Stockport County now, and maybe there's more to come from them in the next few weeks. Another win, Harry. Hartlepool United 2, Grimsby Town 1.
Yeah, a huge win for Hartlepool against the Grimsby side, who've been so strong on the road this season. Gavin Holohan scored an absolute beauty against his old side to put Grimsby 1-0 up in the first half. If you've not seen that already, I'd highly recommend finding the highlights of this game just to see the technique on show. It's unbelievable, and you could see in the highlights the scattering of Hartlepool fans who were just stood there applauding it, because it's one of those goals that you see it go in and you're just glad to be in the stadium to have seen it in person. Grimsby continued to dominate after the goal, but they were unable to extend their lead. And with less than 15 minutes to go, they were punished when Alex Lacey headed in an equaliser. Hartlepool kept the pressure on, and just a few minutes later, Neil Mayer, one of 3 players brought back into the starting lineup, turned a cross from the left into his own net. Both Grimsby and Hartlepool have actually attributed the winner to Josh O'Meara, but I've watched the highlights back, and I'm sorry to say it does look like it was an own goal. I'm not sure it would have gone in without the help of Mayer's head. Keith Curle gave what can only be described as a unique post-match.
This is incredible.
I don't know if any of you have seen it.
Have you got the quote? Because I've got it here.
If you've got it word by word, I was going to paraphrase, so I'm happy for you to read.
I'll go word for word. This generally is absolutely incredible. This is a direct quote, by the way, so get ready for this. Woke up this morning, I had 3 requests. Us to win, Man City to win, and my missus to be in a sexy mood. I've got 2 out of 3 so far, so I've got a 2-hour drive home. I will be grafting to make sure I get a hat-trick. Wow.
That's quite the comment, isn't it?
Never heard anything like it, so I'd be interested to see which journalist in the next press conference would be brave enough to ask.
Who's going to ask that question, yeah.
But yeah, on the other end of the dugout, Paul Hurst was understandably frustrated by his team's performance. He seemed quite rightly baffled that his side hadn't already put the game to bed before Lacey's equaliser. The full-time scenes were long overdue for the suffering Pools fans. And there were some nice videos that came out of the full-time celebrations. They've seen their team lose 4 in a row before this weekend. And it's only just, so I'm not going to get too ahead of myself, but it has moved Hartlepool off the bottom of the table. So there is light at the end of the tunnel there. And Grimsby have dropped down to 13th, I think they are now. They were looking not too long ago like they might just be sniffing around the playoff spots, so they're hoping to push themselves back up that way.
Yeah, I have a bit of a question about whether Grimsby need to put these 3 centre-backs in. I know Niall Mayer needs game time. You want him to play, and he can only really do that in a centre-back role, but do they really need that 3rd centre-back in there, especially against a team like Hartlepool United as well? I mean, I've loved the partnership that Luke Waterthall and Andy Smith have formed at the back, with Michie Tate looking great off the right. They were missing Anthony Driscoll-Glenn yesterday at left-back. It was Danny Amos who played there instead. And there is a difference when Driscoll-Glenn gets in there, because he's a very creative player who probably would have been more suited to wing-back role than Amos was. But is there a need for the back 3? I always feel like Grimsby don't really need that back 3, but I suppose it has to be done sometimes to get Mayer in the lineup as well. That's a disappointing result, but a very big win for Hartlepool, who I've said before, I think Keith Curle's doing well to get what he has out of that squad, because it's a weak team for me, and I hope he got the hat-trick. So let's see if someone asked him that in the next press conference. Sure. Harry, 3rd game in a row to talk about, please. Tranmere Rovers 0, Carlisle United 2.
Yeah, I was hoping I might not have to talk about this one. To be fair to Carlisle, they turned up with a clear game plan, and they executed it extremely well. They were very good for their win. Christian Dennis put them ahead after just 45 seconds, following a great ball across the goal from Jack Stretton. You're talking about there being a lot of goals from the right wing, and pretty much immediately a ball came over the top from Callum Guy. Stretton raced onto it. I'm not really sure why Bristow allowed him to get ahead of him, because he is a pacey left back and he should really have been able to keep up with him. The ball came across goal, nobody dealt with it, and Christian Dennis was there at the back post to just poke it in. I hoped that conceding so early might wake Tranmere up, but if anything, it had the opposite effect. Carlisle really continued to threaten. They had the ball in the net again early in the first half after a rebounded save from Ross Dew and fell to Stretton, but he thankfully was offside for that one. watching it back, I think it was the right call. I think he definitely was offside, but pretty frustrated with that call. The 5-3-2 that Paul Simpson's been so effectively utilising this season caused a lot of problems for Tranmere's back line. And so Mickey Mellon shifted Kieran Morris into wing back to try and match them up. The 4-4-2 clearly wasn't working, but it is always a shame to have to move a player as creative as Kieran Morris into defence just to try and deal with the threat that they had going down their right wing. Carlisle came back out in the second half, still looking like the team that was more up for the game. They made it 2-0 fairly early into that half. Rovers gave away a cheap free kick on the right, not entirely sure what it was for. From that free kick, the referee awarded Carlisle a penalty, which probably was the right decision. In the ground, we felt like it shouldn't have been a penalty, but I've seen it back, and to be fair, there is a push in the back there. The penalty was duly put away by Christian Dennis. That's taken him into double figures for the season. And Carlisle fans will be really happy to see that. Obviously, they've been without Amari Patrick for a lot of the season. And so to have Dennis stepping up and scoring the goals for them has taken a lot of pressure off that team. Tranmere attempts to increase the pressure on Thomas Holy's goal, but hit far too many crosses straight into the extremely tall goalkeeper's hands. If you've got a goalkeeper like that who's nearly 7 foot, you can't be peppering balls into the 6-yard box because he's going to take every single one. But other than that, they look completely devoid of ideas. Both in today's match and the midweek game against Rochdale, players have looked very tired. And the problem that we've got is Mickey Mellon's dealing with a very thin squad. He did at least make some changes today, which he didn't do in midweek. But there's not a lot on the bench to choose from. And so it's been the same starting lineup every weekend and in every midweek game as well. And you can only do that for so long before players start to get tired, and that leads to errors. A lot of credit to Paul Simpson and Carlisle for the win, though. Stretton and Charters were causing all sorts of problems down both wings, with Armour coming up from left back as well. And the three centre-backs looked very assured all game. Carlisle, I think, are looking like a real threat, and they fully deserve the playoff spot that they've managed to sneak into this weekend.
Yeah, Paul Simpson, I think, could turn water into wine. I think this guy is an absolute miracle worker. I don't think there are many managers who could be handed the injury list that he consistently has, which seems to always expand rather than shrink in numbers. He seems to get someone back and someone else goes out, whether through either injury or suspension as well. And he just keeps doing so many great things. We had Jack Ellis playing at right wing back yesterday with thin back out. He didn't have Jordan Gibson, who was out suspended, so he put Taylor Charters into midfield alongside Callum Guino and Moxon as well. You talked about Christian Dennis, Harry, the performances he's putting in. They don't miss Amari Patrick, and I had Amari Patrick down pre-season, I think, as my main man for the front line. But what Dennis has done, what Stretton does as well out possession is really impressive as well, with that midfield support behind him. Paul Huntington in centre-back, such a good signing now he's fully fit as well. I think we always had that feeling he would with the vast experience he has. He looks a cut above. David, I want to quickly ask you about Thomas Holly, who was at Gillingham quite a number of years ago now, but had time at Ipswich Town as well. Are you that surprised to see him performing the way he is? Because I think Port Vale fans had a bit of a mixed opinion about him during his brief time there.
I mean, to be fair for us, he was very hit and miss. He's kind of, being as tall as he is, any crosses, exactly as Harry's just said, like any kind of crosses or anything, he was kind of on the end of them. But anything low down, like most of the teams we then ended up playing were just putting balls in the lower corners and the lower echelons, because he just, being such a tall guy, just can't get down quick enough. I think, sort of akin to what you're saying about Port Vale fans, I think for us it was a bit hit and miss at times as well. Had some really good times with us, but equally some really difficult times too. I suppose that's just a marked fact of being a Gillingham player, really. You're kind of very hot and cold. He was great for us for a long time. And to be fair, we would have happily have taken him back this year, or at least I would. Maybe not all your fans, but I might have done.
I think Glenn Morris is perfectly fine for you lot.
Well, yeah, but he's only with us till January, so then it's finding a solution from there, isn't it? And Crawley is certainly not going to allow us to take him back with their current record.
Certainly. Thomas Holly, though, the clear number one for Carlisle United. I think quite a level above Michael Kelly, who's the backup at the minute for them, and part of a Carlisle team that's just performing miracles under Paul Simpson. I really do tip my hat to him. He just does sensational things. And that is a win over a Tranmere side that was 7 unbeaten prior to this. Great result for Carlisle United on the road. And they play them again next week, don't they, Harry, as well, in the FA Cup? Bit of deja vu as well.
They do, yeah. So when the FA Cup draw was made, the Carlisle United Twitter account tweeted Tranmere and said, Do you fancy exchanging program notes? Because good luck to whoever has to write something different to whatever was in the program today. I think I'm not feeling overly confident about it, and from a purely selfish point of view, it's quite frustrating that once again we're playing another League Two side in a cup competition rather than getting to travel somewhere a bit different for once. But yeah, Carlisle look extremely good, and I think, like you were saying about Amari Patrick, it's almost at the point now that when he is fit, he doesn't come straight back into the team. And at the start of the season, you never would have said something like that about him, would you? So yeah, absolutely, all credit to Paul Simpson. He's doing a really good job there, and I do think they'll be up sort of in that top 7 towards the end of the season, as long as they can keep hold of their best players and maybe bring a couple of extras in just to flesh out the squad a bit more in January.
I think they can manage his fitness, and they're going to need to, because they don't want to lose him for a long period again, much like with others. I think they're managing Toby Silva's fitness as well, which is good. I'm just desperate for a fully fit Carlisle before the end of this season, because if they are, watch out, they could be really good. David, Leyton Orient 1, Salford City 0.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, mate, there's only one place you can really start here, isn't there? There's 3 things that are certain in life, Ed. There's death, taxes, and Paul Smythe scoring a wonder goal in any game that he plays in. The amount of times I had to double take yesterday and think, okay, have they got Paul Smythe up front, or have they just loaned Lionel Messi for a couple of games? Just before the quarter of an hour mark, Smythe, just ridiculous, really. Takes on 2 defenders, goes down in the box, ref waving it away, gets back up to his feet, dribbles through 1, dribbles past 2, and just slots it in. You could be mistaken for thinking that was just a Lionel Messi highlight.
It kind of reminds me, do you guys remember a goal Salah scored against Everton that ended up winning the Puskás Award? By the way, it should never won the Puskás Award, because it was a good goal, but it should never have been considered the best of all, and that's the year. But I was watching that.
The best goal Salah scored that season.
I know, but I was watching that Smythe goal thinking, I remember this. That the way he's just able to wriggle out of space inside the box, he just should not be able to get out of it, and the great finish at the end of it as well.
I think partly, to be fair, it was great finish, of course, but I think it was also down to Salford that just completely switched off as soon as the penalty decision wasn't given. And Smythe is the first one to react. I think I saw Matty
Lund just try to kind of grab his shirt and get to him, but he just couldn't get off him. He just slipped away from him.
Well, that's it. He was the first one to react, gets up and then just dribbles through them. But I take nothing away from his brilliance. But I think also Salford there, I think they were really in 2 minds, the defence there, of exactly what to do. And they weren't really paying attention to what the ref was doing as well. I think it was sort of like 1 goal and that was it really here as well. Orient kind of, especially during the second half, very much, something they've become kind of known for this season, just battering goals, really, really sort of hitting Salford hard. Salford a couple of chances, but nothing really near and nothing on target.
No shots on target, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was like 7 shots they had and none of them on target. So, just shows really the brilliance of Orient this season. They're going so well, aren't they? It's hard to. I'm glad Harry's here, because maybe someone else will be able to add some superlatives to this team. But, only 1 loss this season so far. They've still got a game in hand over Stevenage and they're 3 points clear. So, it's just mental for them this year so far. But yeah, as I say, Paul Smith, he's just going to keep scoring wonder goals, isn't he? Like if he doesn't get the Puskás Award this year, it's a travesty. It's a travesty.
He could have his own category the way things are going.
He really could.
There is a very good highlight reel of just Paul Smythe goals, yeah.
But, this is a man who only scored 3 goals last year as well. He's not known for being an overly prolific striker, is he? But he's just in the absolute form of his life this year.
Don't need to be prolific if you're scoring goals like that, though, do you?
It's truly his season of all seasons at the minute, and he's undoubtedly one of the top players in the league at the moment, in a great Leyton Orient team that still leads the way. Apparently, Richie Wellens counted the Salford fans after full time.
I think there was a really satirical tweet that they posted out as well, wasn't there? Where they, that they were just, was it one of the Orient players that was just they tweeted that they were just waving away and counting how many Salford fans had come.
Yeah, we didn't mention James Norwood either, the Barnsley, who had a little dig at Forest Green as well, and their support of the game as well. I thought it was a good relationship with him from his time at Forest Green, but I guess not after his time at Tranmere. You'll know about this, Harry, I'm guessing. The Forest Green and Tranmere conversation, we've had that before.
Yeah, interestingly, actually, after they drubbed us 4-0 in January, sort of the hostilities softened, which you wouldn't expect at all. So we don't mind Forest Green quite as much now, or at least I don't. But
is it more Dale Vince than Forest Green, perhaps?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, James Norwood's got form, hasn't he? He loves to get on the wind up, and yeah, if you're tweeting somebody like James Norwood, you have to expect that he's going to come back at you and try and make you look stupid. So I don't really understand why people do it. On the subject of tweeting things that make yourself look stupid, I'd like to make a special mention as well to the admin of the Bristol Rovers Twitter account, who tweeted yesterday, before kickoff, game's already ruined, their fans have got a drum. Yeah, and you can't be tweeting something like that and then expecting there not to be any kickback.
And then Derby County tweeted, game's ruined, we got Didsy.
Yeah.
I love the little back and forth on social media. It is quite a lot of fun, a lot of the time. David, Doncaster Rovers 1, Gillingham 0.
Yay. It is what it is. Gills were definitely not at their best yesterday. Midweek loss to Orient marked the first defeat in 8 for the Gills as well. 2 in 9 now. Looked markedly improved over the last couple of weeks, but today yesterday just wasn't Gills' day at all. Really poor performance. First win in 7 for Doncaster Rovers and first win for Danny Schofield as boss. Kyle Knoll, he put it across to find Harrison Biggins, who was just a threat all game, caused so many issues, put the hosts in front on the hour mark. I mean, great win for Doncaster. I don't want to dwell on this game too much. I'm just very worried about midweek for Gillingham. Well, I don't, my friend. I'm very, very dubious about midweek. I mean, I don't think either team was particularly great here. But Doncaster coming out the better of the two. I think they kind of, from what the Doncaster fans were saying that were there, that they were, well, apparently some of them likened it to a worse performance than Crawley there, which if you're hearing things like that, then I'm decidedly very disappointed in Gills. But yeah, I mean, some improvements, but definitely some areas for both teams to improve, and certainly not a clinic, that's for sure.
I've heard some good things coming out of Doncaster, out of Danny Schofield, particularly because of the formation he's gone with. He's gone with his 3-4-3. Carl Noyle and James Maxwell as wing-backs. The front line, Luke Molyneux, George Miller, Carl Hurst. He made the decision to drop Adam Clayton recently, which was quite a big call to some, but it's been worthwhile because it's put Ben Close and Harrison Biggins in midfield. Biggins should be one of the best in this league, I think. I think he was really good for Fleetwood Town, the division above, so it makes you kind of wonder maybe it was a bit of mismanagement on the McSheffrey, because now under Schofield, as you're saying, David, he was influential in this game, and he should be one of the best around, really.
Yeah, no, very influential, and I mean he sort of run the whole show in this one. I think partly, to be honest with you, this says more about the poorness of Gillingham at the moment than it does necessarily the superlatives of Doncaster. But they were certainly a cut above us yesterday, and it really worries me for a midweek game against the team that arguably we should be beating. And I would worry a little bit for Harris's position. Not that I personally would want to see him go, but I would be worried for his position if we don't get something out of that game.
I think you need to clone yourself and make a team of Elkin Baggots. That would probably help you quite well.
Ipswich fans would agree.
I'm sure they would. Walsall 1, Rochdale 0. Not a particularly exceptional Walsall performance by all accounts, but a win nonetheless. The only goal coming on 35 minutes. It was a messy scramble in the box that eventually was put into the net by Hayden White. I don't really like to put a strong stance on Walsall because ever since they come down to League 2, their seasons have ended up being pretty underwhelming. The points returned from October, however, should be noteworthy. They got 14 points for a possible 21. Believe it's the joint most in the league alongside Stevenage. They're up into the top half. Are they maybe worth a team keeping an eye on? I'm pleased that Liam Gordon's back fit, playing at left wing back. I've really liked Liam Bennett, who's on loan from Cambridge, played at right back, right wing back, left wing back as well. Tom Knoll shows his quality in flashes. Isaac Hutchinson shows his quality in flashes as well. We know what Danny Johnson's all about. They need to keep him beyond January badly. Maybe if there was a bit more of a focal point at top in this team, Walsall could do something quite good this season. I'm not going to jump to any major conclusions on that for now, though. I'm just going to leave them to it. Good month for Walsall, though. good with points return under Michael Flynn, and a win over Rochdale yesterday. 3-1-1 draws to wrap things up. Northampton Town 1, Newport County 1. Newport ahead inside 2 minutes through Omar Bogle. Northampton's equaliser came from the long-awaited return of Sam Hoskins, firing in a goal in the 92nd minute to secure a point. I love a game where the goals are right at the start and right at the end as well. That's great. That is Sam Hoskins' 12th league goal this season. His highest single-season tally for Northampton Town prior to this was last season when he got 13. He's one off his total from last season now, and we've just finished October. It's a sensational season.
He's currently top scorer in the league as well, isn't he?
Yeah. Maybe he could have already hit that number already if it wasn't for the recent period he's had out as well. He's sensational to Northampton Town at the moment, a real key goal getter for them. Colchester United 1, Stevenage 1. The opener for Colchester. Fantastic goal from Marley Marshall Miranda, one of their midfielders. Another Cole U product coming through. He's been playing at the base of midfield quite often alongside Cole Scoos when Alan Judge been playing there instead. I've really enjoyed the performances of him. He's one to keep an eye on. Stevenage got an equaliser from Danny Rose though and had a couple of golden chances to win as well. But it's a draw and they remain in the top three nonetheless. And finally, Bradford City 1, Crawley Town 1. A Tyreek Wright through ball, Dion Pereira lifting the ball up into the net, lovely finish from in. Crawley's equaliser though, a great free kick from James Tilley, who's hit some fine form, following a really bad Alex Girardere in possession that led to the free kick being given away. Crawley Town are still unbeaten under Lewis Young, their interim manager. It's going very well for them. I hope they can keep this up for a long period yet, and this honeymoon period they're enjoying right now, if it is one, is enjoyable. It's getting away from the bottom two, and that's good for Crawley Town. I will run through the League 2 table to finish. Leyton Orient, after their win, they lead the way, 39 points from 16 games. Stevenage are second on 36 from 17. Northampton Town wrap up the top three, they're on 32 from 17. Swindon Town up to fourth, they're on 30 from 17. Barrow up into the playoff places, 28 from 16. Bradford City 27 from 16, and Carlisle United on 27 from 16 wrap up the playoff places. Salford City and Mansfield Town are outside by just goal difference. They've also got 27 points. Doncaster have 25, Tranmere have 24, and Walsall have 23 to wrap up the top half. Colchester United down to the bottom of the table despite their draw. They're on 11 points from 16. Hartlepool with a big win over Grimsby Town, 12 points from 17 games. Rochdale outside by just goal difference. They're on 12 points as well, as are Harrogate on 12 points. Gillingham on 13 points. They'll only scored 6 goals, David. It really is a
It's really poor, mate. It's so poor.
Crawley
we need creativity in January.
Crawley 19th on 14 points. Newport County, Sutton and Crewe up complete the bottom third. That's going to wrap up just a manic episode. Goals, goals, goals and goals this week. Really enjoyed it. Thank you to both David Jenkin and Harry Thomas for taking part in this episode.
Thanks, mate.
Thanks very much.
We have an FA Cup next weekend. We don't normally go into the FA Cup games because, quite frankly, you're going through about 40-odd games and we don't want us to do that. I may put an episode on. I'm not quite sure. If we're going to do anything, it'll probably be a question and answer session. Depends on availability and whether you guys want it as well. So do let us know. If not, we'll see you the week after for more from the world's best third and fourth tiers. We'll see you then. Goodbye.